You have the minutes before you of the June 26th meeting. Is there any errors or omissions? If not, can I have someone please move to accept? Councillor Librion?
Agenda?
Hmm?
Well,
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's back this train up and adopt the minute meetings. Councillor Librion? Sorry, agenda. What are you saying? I'm about.
oh, I didn't hear the word agenda.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have before you the proposed bylaw number 103223. I'd like to call the public hearing for responsible animal ownership pursuant to section 606 of the Municipal Government Act. A notice of this public hearing was published in the Echo Pioneer newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks on the town's social media as well as the town website. Interested persons wishing to make a verbal or written presentation were informed they could do so, and they had to have that into the municipal clerk before 4 p.m. on Monday, June 26th. I will chair this public hearing. All questions and comments, please direct them through me. Council's here to listen to the information presented and make a decision on the matter. This is a formal hearing and not a debate. Anybody wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to speak once the matter has been called. Each presenter can state their full name and their interest in this matter, including whether they're in support or opposed. Individuals who do not identify themselves will not be given the opportunity to speak. You have a 5-minute limit, and you're encouraged when speaking to keep your presentation to the point. I'll call upon the CAO to now introduce the subject of the hearing.
Madam Mayor, I'll ask Director Gavin to introduce the bylaw.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bylaw 1032-23 involves repealing the Assorted Animal Bylaw 928-12 and the Animal Control Bylaw 984-18 and adopting a new Responsible Animal Ownership Bylaw. On April 11th, Bylaw 1032-23 received first reading by Council, and on May 8th, the same bylaw received second reading by Council as amended. Administration has completed several methods of public engagement for this bylaw, and that includes an information booth that we had at the Community Catch-Up event back on April 22nd. There's been informational posters on social media and in the Echo Pioneer as well, several editions of that. I've had email exchanges and phone call discussions with several members of the public, one-on-one meetings with interested community groups and individuals, and we also had a well-attended public hearing on May 8th. The purpose of this bylaw is to regulate, control and protect all animals within the municipal boundaries of High Level. The bylaw was developed from the existing Animal Control Bylaw 984-18 and significantly amended to effectively address historic, current and impending animal control issues within High Level. Feedback from the public and stakeholders on the bylaw has largely been positive and informative. Administration has made several amendments to the bylaw before second reading and since second reading. To address input and concerns received from the public.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Director Gavin? Okay, seeing none, is there any people here to speak on behalf of the application for the bylaw? Second call for anybody that is here to speak on behalf of the bylaw. There is a third calling for anybody that wishes to speak on behalf of the bylaw. Okay, I'm going to call upon applicants that wish to speak against the bylaw. Second call for any applicants wishing to speak against the bylaw. Third and final call. If there's no further comments, I request a motion from council to close this public hearing. Councillor Anderson. Thank you, everybody. The next proposed bylaw, sorry, is all in favor? Carried. The next bylaw is number 1039. I'm not going to go through the same spiel. This is a public hearing pursuant to that bylaw. I will call upon the CAO to introduce it, please.
Madam Mayor, Director Phillips will introduce and present the bylaw to council.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, or good evening, Mayor and Council. On May 24th, Council gave first reading to bylaw 1039-23, which is the 103rd Street borrowing bylaw for the rehabilitation project. This is just a recommendation for second and third reading. We have had no petitions in since we did the advertising for 2 weeks in the local paper and gave the 15 days after the last date in which it was advertised. Administration is just asking for second and third reading to borrowing bylaw.
Thank you. Is there any applicants here to speak for the bylaw? Second call for anybody to speak towards the bylaw. Third call. If there is anybody that wishes to speak in opposition to the bylaw. Second call. And third call. Since there's no comments from the public, I will request a motion from council to close the hearing.
Make that motion.
Councillor Lambert, all in favor? Carried. I would like to call upon Mr. Dave Borley to speak to the industrial road rehabilitation.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and Council, for giving me the opportunity to address you today. I'm here representing a coalition of property owners affected by the 92nd Street and 114th Ave rehabilitation programs. I've written a letter containing some questions regarding this project. I'd like the opportunity to read them, and I've also printed copies for each of you so you can have it. We aren't expecting to have the answers today from this council. However, we would welcome any answers you could give us tonight. Would you like you want the letters now?
Sure, please. Thank you.
And so it reads, Dear Sirs and Madams, I have been appointed as representative of a coalition of high-level industrial property owners affected by the Industrial Road Rehabilitation Project, specifically the proposed 92nd Street local improvement and the proposed 114th Ave local improvement. Our group has concerns and questions regarding this rehabilitation. Specifically with the town of High Level's decision to levy the property owners with 24% of the total project costs. We welcome a response for the following questions. 1, was a plan ever developed to consult with and gather input from the affected property owners prior to commencement of the proposed rehabilitation?
You
Upon-
want me to answer them individually? Or do you want to wait?
Sure.
till the end? Okay, so we did have a plan to do the rehabilitation. We did, at our budget meeting in June of, not the budget meeting, but in June of 2022, we actually put it out for engineering. We lobbied the government for the STIP grant to do it, in which we were awarded 1 point, how much is it? 1.782 million. But of course, the engineering come back way higher than the 1.78 million. So the town had to come up with a plan of how to pay for the rest of this road. The plan was to do a debenture for the town's 25%, and then the other 24% to come from the landowners. We could have done it as a local improvement whereby the local landowners would pay 50% of it, or they could have paid the entire price of it because the road needs to be rehabilitated. We feel that the town uses the road like citizens of the town, but it's not a major arterial for all of the taxpayers of town. And the people that benefit most are the businesses along that route. So that's where the 24% came in. And we're still lobbying the government, and maybe you could take some of your concerns to our local MLA, who has been at every meeting, that we have lobbied the government for extra money besides the STIP granting to pay for that road. Because as you are well aware, it was used as a bypass when they were putting in the Highway 58. So, I mean, we have been at the minister's table numerous times. And that road is in disrepair. We can't allow it to go further into disrepair. And that's all the government would allow us. So that's the answer to that question. And we did put out 2 times. It went into the papers on our local media and in the papers twice to advertise this. And we didn't hear from anybody. So we assumed that that was our kind of go ahead from the businesses.
Yeah, I think the businesses probably would have preferred to receive a letter, some sort of correspondence
And that is,
stating that we were going to get a,
so that is, you know, we will take that into consideration. I agree. Maybe we should have more consultation. But according to the MGA, it is a local government decision when infrastructure is in disrepair to do this type of thing. So we only follow procedure. Yes, we are, you know, maybe we are remiss in not asking or not allowing the local people to be in charge of the roads. The thing that you can do, that you received in your letter, is have a petition signed by 50% or 51% of the business owners, as long as that they are in more than 50% of the assessment.
Yeah.
So if that's in by July 5th, then we will help you do the petition, which will halt the construction.
yeah, the petition is completed.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that comes into us, that halts the construction.
Okay.
And that STIP money goes back to the government.
Okay.
We couldn't do it before we started.
Okay, so the second question from us is, upon completion of the rehabilitation, is there a plan developing or developed now to restrict vehicle weights on the new road?
I will turn you over to the CAO. That's administrative.
Administration has discussed this with council, but I think that I'll defer that to Director Straub. He has more knowledge on that.
So, Madam Mayor, we are looking at potential road bans during the spring season. Again, we don't know what that's going to look like. That's definitely a consultation with all the property owners to see what load weights and what time of years they're using. We do have a couple of extremely heavy users that we're going to be looking at. So, yes, we are looking at it, but there will be no decision without talking to all the affected users coming in and going around also.
Thank you.
So that essentially answers the second is what is the proposed restriction? You won't have that information now. And I guess how would those proposed restrictions affect the existing property owners? Some people do haul heavy equipment. Are they going to be subject to the same restrictions? I would assume they would be.
So that's what we intend to find under the consultation part, see what the individual needs are of certain heavy industry, and if it's just the odd load or if it's constant heavy movement. I'm not going to say specifically which, but we certainly have some heavy loads in the spring that could be deferred to a later date.
Okay, and in the event that we do not, or that the town does not put restrictions on the road, is there any sort of a warranty that's been secured from the contractors building the road now? Because that's not a very old road in 20 years.
So, Madam Mayor, the restrictions or the warranty is only a 1 year on workmanship. I think it's 1 year on workmanship. We'll do a final service. Again, the contractor is building it to the engineer specifications or rehabilitating it to the engineer specifications. And as we know with consultants, there's never an implied long-term warranty, but we certainly expect it to meet a fairly lengthy process. Again, that's also dependent on seasonal hauling and load restrictions during the periods where it can take the most damage. And that's only on 92nd Street. 114th is a different street, and we'll be looking at as the primary route because it is soil cemented.
But I think we would all agree that 92nd Street is a primary route right now because all traffic from the north and the east uses that road to access the industrial area.
Mhm.
So it is a major artery. It's the second major artery into our industrial area, I would suspect. And so what is the life expectancy of this rehabilitation? How long do we expect the road to last?
Go ahead.
Typical roads last 10 to 20 years. It depends on load and where and that I don't know. We never got a definitive it's going to last forever. Again, it depends on the loading of the road and the time of year it's loaded. We'll leave it at that.
Because you can see from our concern that if every 10 years we're going to be getting a $27,000 bill in the mail to repair the road. It's a significant concern for the business owners.
Absolutely, we understand that. This road was specifically, what, 20 years old?
I'm not sure, Madam Mayor. It's fairly old.
So we can probably skip because you've basically answered the rehabilitation and how you've decided that we were the benefiting property owners of road. I would suggest to council that most of the industrial area is a beneficiary of having 92nd Street. And that the property owners aren't benefiting for 25% of the rehabilitation cost.
So according to the MGA, Dave, and this is what we base our decisions on, it is the linear properties along that road. So we can't go in and charge the people that are not on those two linear properties, even though they benefit. So their beneficiary money comes from the town putting in their 25% and the government putting in their million. So that, I mean, if we were to do a local improvement in town, we could only charge the people on those linear right-of-ways. We couldn't charge the entire town.
So when we do improvements on residential streets in town, are
The taxpayers on either side have to pay a local improvement.
and it doesn't come out of the general fund then? So the people on that street pay
Yes,
more than the rest?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's according to the MGA. That's where we get our details from. And, you know, like, they're the ones that say, you know, it's the local government that decides what infrastructure needs to be repaired.
What efforts were made to fund the percentage of this rehabilitation that are now the responsibility of the benefiting property owners?
So, like I told you, we lobbied the government for STIP funding, of which they gave us 1.8 million, but the project is 3 million. So then we did the local improvement, plus the town did their part of putting in from all the people in town by taking a debenture. And we are still lobbying the government. We feel we should still be entitled to that. And we have a letter into Minister Dreeshen as we speak. If we do get extra funding because they used that road for so long, then that will go into that. It will go against those taxes, and the amount that the business owners owe will go down.
Okay.
And that's why I suggest we need to found our local MLA.
You know anyone that knows him?
I don't know. I got an inkling.
So what portion of the special levy non-residential that we've paid on our property taxes is going to this specific project, if any?
The taxes that you've paid.
No, we now pay a special levy non-residential over and above our standard tax rate.
This levy that you're getting here, this local improvement.
No, there's
What's
an
the
additional one on the bottom of our tax bill, said special levy non-residential.
So those are for the major arteries that are going into the town. And that was when we did our plan 2 years ago in our budget meeting to determine what the major arteries were in the town. That there would be a special levy for 3 years for those 3 main arteries. And everybody in town is paying for those.
Okay, and then you are searching for additional sources of funding, so. And then the other question was, you know, would council be willing to collaborate with representatives from these affected groups to try and source additional funding? I mean, we have a group of volunteers that are willing to put their names forward. Not a big group. We'd want 1 or 2.
Council's always willing to collaborate.
Okay. And then if so, does the town have funding options that would never be or not be considered? Like, is there a list of ideas that are just off the table for looking for funding?
We'd have to consult with administration, like there's usually, I mean, if you put on a GoFundMe page, I mean, that would be acceptable, like all of those. The only thing we are able to do is to get STIP grant funding from our government. And then we take it from our other operating, like our gas fund, whatever other taxes we get, that's where we gather up our money to build these roads and infrastructure.
Yeah. The concern from us is that we're going to spend all this money only to have the road wrecked in 5 or 6 years because we got 100,000 ton loads going up and down the road still.
And that is something that we would definitely take from the business owners that collaboration to tell us what load bearing. I don't know, like, I'm not a road expert. Keith's our operations person. He knows more than council does about the load. He spends the time with the engineers. I'm sure he would collaborate with the rest of you.
Okay.
And that's a definite good point. Like, if we're gonna spend that money, I guess we better decide if it's gonna hold those roads or how long. I know we've talked about winter bans. Keith, do you want to interject any other ideas?
Not at the moment. We are looking at load brands during the softer periods, but again, that's something we're looking at and we haven't discussed with all the users and or property owners. So it's definitely on the radar, and I do understand where the majority of weight comes from. So not at the moment.
I mean, yeah, the concern for us was that, and I mean, like you guys, everybody here, we've dealt with an evacuation due to a wildfire, then 2 years of COVID. We finally have 1 year under our belts of getting back to business, and now we're getting hammered with a fairly significant project cost that none of us were expecting, and many can't afford to pay. And so the concern is, when does it have to be paid? Because nowhere in our letter does it say that.
I think it goes on your taxes monthly, or you can pay in a lump sum.
Starting when?
I'll direct you to our finance.
It would be yearly and it wouldn't start until 2024, assuming that we're getting our debenture by the end of this year. So you'll see on your 2024 taxes, whether or not you pay that annual payment that's in your letter, or you do an annual payment in your letter, or you do the one lump sum payment that encompasses the whole 20-year payment. And that's an option. And it could be paid off at any time throughout that 20 years for that property. So the local improvement it stays with the parcel, with the property. So let's say ownership changed and that local improvement didn't get closed out. So that stays with the property. It doesn't stay specific to the property owner at that time. It stays with your parcel.
Yes, and so that raises a concern for many of the property owners, because you're essentially devaluating the property that amount. So we're forced with the decision to pay it out of cash flow or devalue our property and carry a liability on our balance sheet for 20 years.
Or get a petition going and give it to council by the 5th.
Yeah, because it was brought up at the meeting last night. I mean, we're a group of people who support initiatives. We're all small business owners as well as property owners. We spend a considerable amount of time and money supporting community events. And for a lot of the people in that room last night, those donations and that time was at risk.
I hear you. We absolutely hear you, Dave. But that road needs to be rehabilitated. If you guys do the petition and the petition passes, then council has to seek funding other ways or stop the project.
Okay. Well, I thank you all very much for the time, and let me address it.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a couple of comments. Hopefully having the new road out there is going to increase the property value. Whether that turns out to be the case, hard to say. I don't think anyone would dispute that those roads have needed to be replaced for a long time. Council, certainly in my experience, have exhausted every opportunity for funding. The STIP funding that we did get, my understanding is these roads don't qualify under the program. We had to get a ministerial exception. Normally they cover existing gravel roads that you're looking to take to pavement. They've got to be major industrial thoroughfares, which these technically aren't. So the minister did go outside the bounds to at least give us the STIP funding. We've met with a number of ministers, like the mayor said. Our previous infrastructure minister suggested we go to CN for a contribution because of the delay in the Highway 58 East realignment. Given the delay in time, we all know where that was gonna go, but in a normal situation, as the mayor said, when a road of this type has to be done, it's done through a local improvement. And so the property owners would pay 100% of the cost. Because there's properties abutting both sides of the road, each side would pay 50%. In this case, and I apologize, I don't have the breakdown in front of me, but I think each individual property owner is actually paying 12.5% of the total cost because of the funding that we've been able to do, the fact that council made a decision that the town, all taxpayers would fund 25%, which is an equal amount to what the property owners are doing. You know, when the mayor talks about other alternatives, well, given the amount of work that's happened, I don't think canceling the project is feasible. The only alternative other than getting extra funding from the province or some other level of government would be that there would be a special commercial levy put on all commercial properties on that side of the town. Because it is commercial property, and so whether there would be other business people that would be objecting to that. But when it comes to a special levy like that, I don't believe that we can be petitioned. It could be wrong, but so those are, it wouldn't be a local improvement. It would be a special levy like we've done. Yeah. So, and then to just make sure that that's clear, that the 3 projects that were done, so last year Rainbow Boulevard, this year 103rd, and next year hopefully 100th Avenue, none of those are done through a local improvement. They're all done through that special levy. So every property owner in town is paying an equal percentage. And there's been discussions at council how we, would deal with that. And the decision was made that those basically benefit every individual in the community, which is why they were funded through the special levy as opposed to a improvement tax. But typically, if there's no other levels of funding, it's 100% local improvement. The benefiting property owner pays the entire cost over the 10, 15, 20-year debenture.
Yeah, and from our side we're not seeing it as an improvement because we had a paved road there that got wrecked. It's a rehabilitation. So if we had a gravel road with no services and then we decided to pave it and put services in, I would consider that an improvement. But we all know it's not going to increase our property values. We have how much property that's sitting vacant right now. So we're adding a liability to our books.
There's also the issue of how much do you let an asset deteriorate before you fix it? Had this been done 10 years ago, maybe the entire project was done for $1 million. I don't know. Costs have really gone up, as we're all aware, over the last few years for sure. But council has always been very fiscally responsible, certainly in my opinion, on the time that I've been here. And so hasn't spent money on infrastructure upgrades like this in a long time. And certain things just get to the point where you have no choice.
I would agree.
So council's trying to do everything. And if you can convince our MLA to get the new Minister of Transportation to kicking some extra money, that would be great, because that would not only save property owners money, it's going to save the town, all taxpayers, in the 25% that the town is paying.
So we have, basically what he's saying is we have lobbied. We do hear your pain, and I'm giving you an out. I mean, that's your right.
And then I want an in though after.
Well, yes. And your in is either a commercial tax of everybody in that area, because like we have already started the project, or a total debenture for the town to take upon, which lowers our ability to get other money from other places.
Yeah,
So I mean,
I don't
we're all
envy
in
you
a
guys.
rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
So the best spot to go to is to our ministers. And, you know, we've pleaded this case to numerous ministers. I mean, if they heard from the business owners on that route, they would know we're all preaching from the same songbook.
Yeah, okay.
And they were almost there, and there was an election called. So,
Now you have a new minister.
and you know what? He may hear us.
Okay.
And like we said, that money will go, if we do get more money, it will go towards that 25% that you guys are paying or propose to pay. But if you want to get that petition in, now would be the time, because July 5th is coming. Administration has offered to help make sure it's done properly.
Petition here, Jackie?
Or just
Just for a heads up.
Just for a heads up.
heads up in terms of being interested in what projects are coming down the pipe. We have an arena that probably has less than 4 years of life in it due to foundational issues, and our sewage lagoon is at end of life. We are trying our best to get a new facility, an evacuation center. Hopefully we make it somewhere there, but the sewage lagoon is a $25 million hit to the town. And right now, with no partner municipalities, the government has significant restrictions on how much grant funding they're going to give us for that. So right now, I think the town's total borrowing limit, 16 million.
15 million.
So the sewage lagoon would more than take up the town's entire borrowing ability for the next 20 years. So, you know. just
There are
check-
grants available to us.
Yes, but it,
Don't be doom and gloom now.
no, but at this point, the grant maximum on that is 50%. So the town still has to come up potentially with $12.5 million. And we just don't have those funds and never will.
If only we had a St. Lawrence River.
Yeah, the only thing that, you know, like the only way we have is through grants and through taxes. Unfortunately, and we can't run a deficit.
And so that's why it's been difficult decisions to make on some of these projects, because we're trying to be more conservative because of what's coming down the pipe, and because we can't operate without a sewage lagoon, right? Just like we couldn't operate without a water treatment plant, which is coming up for a refit here at some point in the future.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Was there anyone else that would like to come forward? Well, we're doing an asset management plan, and that will tell us which ones have to be, but there aren't any other major arteries coming out of the well, we won't get any grants for them. Well, we might get some grant for them, and then they would be local improvements. Yes. Well, right now in our 3-year plan, right now they're not in our plans. Right now they're not in our plans. Yes. Mm-hmm. Not me. 103rd? No, because it's a major artery. So Jackie, we had 3 major arteries to get out of this town. And the council decided that the entire community uses them. So there would be a special levy for 3 years to complete those projects. But the entire community does not use the industrial artery. So the ball's in your court. Yep.
Basically, and then everybody else on the inside, they come in this way, everybody else in the middle is all benefiting. Taking off the cost. Right? Else is paying in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. This hearing is over. And yeah, like we give you options, please exercise them. Okay. Option 1. Petition. No, you don't get taxed. You petition, and if that petition comes back valid, the town has to find another way to pay your 25%, which would probably be through a debenture if we didn't get any more grant money, and then everybody would pay. Or a special levy of that community, the industrial area, because it's commercial property. It's the same thing, but you'd have more people paying. Yeah. Read your MGA. Thank you, guys. Yes, you're welcome. Okay, now we can approve the minutes. So the June 12th, regular council meeting. Any errors? Deputy Mayor moves, all in favor, carried. June 19th, the Committee of Whole unapproved minutes. Can I have approval? They were all emailed to you. Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried. Delegation business. Could somebody move to accept the delegation as Councillor Lambert for information? All in favor? Carried. I sent you my report 2 days early. If there's any questions, I will answer them. For the community that is listening, we did have a meeting with the Staff Sergeant Deveron to discuss the local policing issues. And the community of High Level has applied and received enhanced policing for the summer months to increase the service levels in our downtown and parks area. So there you will see an increased presence by the RCMP in the downtown core at community events and including Centennial Park. Also, I would like to send out a big thank you to all the organizers and vendors and Toko and drummers and the FDS Society, the village, and all the community members from High Level, Little Red, and the Dene and Boyer for making Indigenous Day such a fantastic event in the park for the kids and the elders. They really enjoyed it, everyone that I spoke to. Ready fees, chamber fees. We have reduced them to $250 for members under 50. So until the chamber reaches 50 members, you will pay $250. Over 250, you will, 50. Over 50, you will pay $1,000. Any questions about my report? If not, could I have someone approve?
The mayor's report.
Councillor Welke, all in favor? Carried. The committees on which councillors sit. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I attended the Northern Alberta Elected Leaders Meeting in High Prairie on June the 16th. Some of the interesting topics and discussion. I know wind turbines may be not a big thing for us. However, a number of rural municipalities are running into situations where their land use bylaw doesn't contain anything regarding setbacks. And the Alberta Utilities Commission can basically override everything else. So just whether in our intermunicipal development plan, we have something with the county, not sure whether wind turbines would ever come here, but apparently having these things in place can really impact on what the Alberta Utilities Commission can do. FCM is lobbying the federal government to pass legislation that any oil and gas coming from outside of Canada, that country must meet the same standards of what is imposed on Canadian producers. It's been proposed, and there's going to be resolutions coming forward to both RMA and Alberta municipalities regarding a grading system for engineering firms, where every municipality would be able to input comments and ratings on engineering companies for their qualifications and competencies. So that may be something that's near and dear to our heart. The Calgary School of Public Policy apparently has released their corridor report, and apparently in discussions with the doctor that led that study, that even though species at risk has been quiet of late, that it's going to play a significant role in the corridor strategy that the province has. There was a discussion about a lot of affected communities with NAV Canada, and they're looking at cutting back or reducing services at different airports. There was a discussion about medical co-response, which consumed a fair amount of meeting time. I had reached out at the request of the NAL chair and got the town's medical co-response statistics for the last 4 years, and that's been forwarded on. They're hoping to write a letter to the minister, and there are actually municipalities out there that want the province to hand the ambulance services back to the municipality. So not sure how that's going to go. And then one thing that's significantly impacting Peace River at the moment is the number of people that are being released from custody, whether it's from PRCC or Edmonton Remand Center. When We all know there's no bus service north of Peace River at the moment, so all of these individuals are ending up in Peace River. So there's going to be a letter going to the minister about the responsibility of the province that if they arrest someone and remove them from their home community, there should be some obligation on them to get them home and not simply dump them wherever the bus ends.
So they give them a bus ticket from Remand to Peace River?
Oh, the way it used to work back in the day is everyone being released from custody would automatically be given a bus ticket.
Yes.
Apparently about 10 or 12 years ago, Justice and Solicitor General's office became aware of certain individuals in Edmonton that were simply taking those tickets and selling them. They weren't using them. So they changed that system that in order to get a bus ticket, the person being released had to request one. However, if the person being released doesn't know that, they don't request one and they're just
Turned
on
out.
the street in downtown Edmonton, at least in Peace River, because the facility is not located in the town. They do get them back into the community of Peace River, but that's where their obligation ends because there's no bus. So a letter is going to the minister about that as well. The next meeting is November 17th in Valley View. That's my report.
All right, any questions for Deputy Mayor? Okay, thank you. Councillor Anderson.
On June 19th, I attended a meeting with Michael Boner, in council chambers or next door, to do with, meeting with ministers, trying to, get them on our side for funding for, the different, items that we require to, get in town to like rehabilitation of highways, roads, our multi-purpose facility, our lagoon. But that's in the process to where we can meet as a council with the ministers. And that leads, that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Lambert.
On June 15th, I had an IMPC meeting regarding a development in the county just north of town. And then on the 19th, I also attended the same meeting with Michael Lohner. It was a good meeting, I thought. Nice education on who our new ministers are and what we can do to lobby with them. June 21st, another meeting with the chamber. And then on June 23rd, we helped set up the Celebrate the Sun, which was a huge success. Actually, Eva here helped us set up and organize, and it was really good. We had a lot of good feedback from the community and the business members. So it's a nice, good step for the chamber moving forward.
Till the rain came down.
Till we had to take it down, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Councillor Lambert? Councillor Lee Brion.
I attended on June 14th. I attended the Alberta Library Board of Trustees meeting. It was the annual AGM. It was just an election for 3 open board positions. On June 19th, attended the meeting with Michael as well and the community of a whole afterwards. And on June 21st was the Film Industry Task Force, but I'll let Jan speak to that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Welch.
On June 20th, we had our Northwest FASD Society AGM, and it was fairly well attended. We have 2 new board members, but 1 stepped down. So, but some new people at that board, so that was good. We also had our auditor's report, and all of that went well. On June 21st, I attended the TV and Film Task Force with administration, and we worked further to develop a policy that one day council could accept moving forward to help facilitate the TV and film industry to operate transparently in our municipality. we had to discuss keeping our focus on the municipality itself and not a regional aspect to it at this time, but it's something that could be shared, when our developments or our policies do come forward. We researched many other existing municipalities' programs in this area. And one difference that we really identified here for this industry, because it's not really here yet, is how we would be flexible enough to, attract the projects versus somewhere like Banff that maybe has to be restrictive because of the volume and influx of that industry wanting to use their location. So we also want to ensure that we have transparent communication with not only with the industry, but with the public as well, because a lot of these types of things would be new and people would have, questions concerning, projects of these natures, whether it's a month-long movie or a multi-month year TV show, something like that. So the communication with everyone would be of the utmost importance, especially if we want to be flexible to allow the industry to come in and do creative projects. So that's where we're at right now. We've still got a bit of work to do. And on June 22nd, I attended a Community Futures meeting, and it was just business as usual. We have a new board member there, and we had our auditor's report, and that organization is functioning well. So that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Could I have someone move council reports? Councillor Lambert, all in favor? Carried. So under the council action list, is there anything that council wishes to address? Seeing none? Oh, sorry, Councillor Lambert.
I had some questions for Director Schmidt, but he's not here. Can I still ask the questions? Yeah. So just want to know, have we had any feedback from Denny Thaw on the fire service agreement?
No, I have had some passing conversations with their Director of Operations, Mr. Asels. They were a little busy with their evacuation, and then Jordan took a few days off, and now they're planning for Denny days. So I've kind of left him alone here the last little while. But I do plan to talk to him early in July.
And then one more question, I guess, also regarding fire, just with the ongoing advertisements, have we had any candidates apply, successful candidates at all?
I don't know whether there's been a few that they have interviewed, and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Okay, Deputy Mayor moves for information. All in favor? Carried. So you have the upcoming events list. Seems you previewed it. Does anybody have any comments or discussion on it? Mr. Borley was saying the Fat Boys had a successful motorcycle rally. So that's good. The Midnight Open was a success. All right, could I have somebody, Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried. Under old business, we went through the public hearing about the responsible animal ownership bylaw. Seeing as there was no representation for or against by the public, does council have any questions they wish to address about the new? None? Could I entertain a motion then for third reading?
Madam Mayor, there were some amendments. Is that, if I may ask, is that third reading with the amendments as?
Yes, sorry. Yes,
I would make a motion for third reading as amended for the responsible animal ownership bylaw as amended.
And, oh, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, there's just one question in there under Schedule C about removing or retaining neighbourhood notifications for poultry permits. So a decision just on that is required.
Council, do you want to notify the public or the people when you're getting chickens? Or geese? No, I guess geese aren't poultry.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, geese would be covered under poultry as well.
Are they?
Yep.
We had that discussion before.
Sorry, unless I'm wrong, Director Gavin, I believe poultry includes geese, ducks, and
They're foul.
Yes, sorry, I just found it. Poultry includes chickens, ducks, geese, pheasants, quail, and turkeys, but the male of each of those is not permitted.
Yes.
So if the proposed animal owner wants to put in chickens or fowl and we had a notification process, does that yield an opportunity for the adjacent property owners to even make a change versus if they're following the bylaw anyways, what point would the notification provide?
Yeah,
Like
so
local improvement. If 2/3 vote against it, they can't have chickens.
Well, is that the case?
it's a good question. So the way it's currently written is the process we would go through is we would accept an urban poultry application from a resident. We would have 14 days to ask additional information. It normally doesn't take us that long, but that's what we're saying that we would have. Then we would send out written notifications to every adjacent landowner within 100 metres. We might have discretion on that now under the change for the land use bylaw. However, you do that, which triggers your 21-day public appeal period. So it's essentially the same as like a discretionary use under the land use bylaw. And then depending on the feedback we get from adjacent landowners, that could influence the development authority's decision. So if we remove them, any member of the public has the opportunity to appeal, but it's not going to administration or the SDAB. The appeal comes straight to council, and they would have 14 days to register that appeal with you guys, and you would have 21 days to make a decision. So you would either overturn administration's approval or refusal and issue the permit. So it really shortens the process, I guess, for anybody that applies, because we would either issue approval or refusal, but then anybody could appeal the decision just without getting letters in the mail. So you would be relying on the public advertising that we currently do, which is on social media, the newspaper, and the website.
Madam Mayor, if I can add to that, the only permit we have ever allowed is the one to which no objection was given. We have turned down every permit to which an objection was given. So this is the only animal that we ask the neighbors whether or not you can own. So the cat that comes into your garden, we don't ask for that, or the dog that barks all night. And the poultry owners actually have a higher level or a higher standard that they must adhere to, because they must also register their animals provincially.
Do you have to register your chickens?
Yep. Yeah. So it is a more difficult animal to own anyway without the public notification.
And Madam Mayor, we've added all of those provisions to Schedule C. So they must prove that they've taken the course, registered the animals. And this is also in case of an evacuation, then we know where poultry are in town, right? And especially for outbreaks of disease. So it's another reason why the provincial government tracks them.
Question then. So if we leave the notification process in place, then administration would, for the most part, be dealing with any types of appeals. If it's not, these individual cases, if they get appealed, would come straight to council, and we would be making decisions on an individual project
Correct.
Only if appealed by a neighbor.
by an
Adjacent.
adjacent
Or on a turn down on the permit.
Yes, exactly. Like an applicant could appeal a refusal. So whether we're doing neighborhood notifications or not, the public still has the right to appeal. We're just really lengthening the process and then also, I guess, doing additional consultation because we are sending letters specifically to the residents. And that has been the process under the assorted animal bylaw, at least since 2012, perhaps longer. So the question on the table here is whether we keep that process or remove it, but they still have the right to appeal.
Keep it.
Sir Lee,
I'm in favor of keeping it the way it is. Yeah.
No, I agree. The notice should still go out. I think people should be notified in case they have an objection, rather than relying on everyone, reading the paper, going on our webpage or Facebook.
okay, somebody make a motion? I don't think they should have to even put it out there.
I agree with you, Madam Mayor. I don't think that it's necessary if they have to pass all the other stuff provincially and everything else, and the public still has the right to appeal. I'm not sure that we need to impede their progress further in getting an application in. My biggest concern with that is that there'll probably be lots of them. Well, if there is any even that request them, that they may not know, that their surrounding neighbors may not know that they have that right to appeal, and may just be pissed off neighbors. But I think the town could put that out on social media that if this were to occur, you have this option, right? And then that way we speed up the process for the person that wants them. Otherwise, you apply for chickens in April and you don't get them till January. So I'm not sure that's being reasonable.
Red tape reduction.
But I agree with both sides. I do think it's, I see what you're saying, but I know that in the past, I don't think we've had many issues with, chickens or poultry, I guess I should say. I don't think they make much noise. I guess I would agree with Councillor Anderson and the mayor that we should reduce the red tape in that regard.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we don't put out notifications to adjoining landowners to speed up the process for getting permits if people so choose to do that.
All in favor? Those opposed? Tie. We lose. All right. The RFD for the borrowing bylaw. Oh,
Madam Mayor, that was just for the amendment. You can still do third reading.
Does my motion still stand?
yes.
I had a motion on that.
Okay, would read it back.
I would like to make a motion for third reading of the responsible animal ownership bylaw as amended.
Maybe we have to vote against it. I'll call all in favor. Those opposed? Carried. Okay, the RFD to the borrowing bylaw. There was a presentation again. No concerned citizens. Council, do you have any questions? Okay, could I have someone move to consider second reading? Deputy Mayor? All in favor? Carried. Third reading of the borrowing bylaw. Counselor Librion? All in favor? Carried. So the RFD for the budding yards, 12-4. Somebody want to make a motion?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, there's 12.3, the scope of Main Street project.
Oh, sorry. The scope of the street rehabilitation project. Who's speaking to that?
That was a Horizon report from your
Okay.
committee of the whole.
Any new information? Any new questions, council? Okay. Motion. I still say not just a lump of cement down the middle. Just for the record.
We will bring a design back to council. Madam
Thank
Mayor.
you. Councillor Lambert will move. Were you the Horizon report? Were you the Horizon report? Okay. Councillor Anderson? Oh, you have something to say?
No.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. 12-4, the budding yards.
Madam Mayor, that's a carryover from your committee of the whole. However, Director Clark has fleshed that program out a little bit if you had any questions.
Council, did you have any more questions? You're good with it? Okay, could I have a motion, please?
I have a question.
Okay,
It was discussed, at the last, well, I think council meeting, right? That we only do 2 prizes per category. I see now that you're up to 4. Can you give me some feedback on that?
Yeah, I was under the understanding that you wanted 2 prizes per month. So best patio, 2 prizes in July and then 2 prizes in August. Was I mistaken?
I didn't realize it was 2 per month. I thought it was just 2 for the summer, so.
Okay. we can-
I'm happy with that. It's still within budget, so I just wanted clarification on that. So.
Yeah, it was originally like 1 for July and 1 for August. So now we changed it to 2 for July and 2 for August per category.
anybody else? Somebody want to make a motion? Councillor Welke, you're pushing your key.
I was. I will make the motion that council funds the budding yard contact from council initiative budgets in the amount of $4,320. Alternative number 1.
All in favor? Carried. So the RFD for the farmer's market. Is this the first time we've charged for the farmer's market?
No, we
Madam
charged
Mayor.
last year as well.
Did you?
Yeah. Last year was the first year we charged, so we worked with them to see what they could afford, and that is a amount we agreed upon, and it worked well last year.
Okay. I checked it off, that's why. I gotta see. Oh, okay.
You should use your iPad.
I skipped over it because I didn't have a page. Okay, AUMA.
Madam Mayor, council's just or administration is wondering which councilors would be willing to attend the meeting or are planning on attending so that we can book rooms and book the conference fees.
That's kind of dependent on our meetings with ministers.
We were going to try to avoid meetings with ministers at the
Yeah.
conference and try to go either before or after. Oh, I see what you're saying. So why go to the conference if you're having meetings with the ministers the week before? Okay, we can leave this to The early bird is until August 18th. We could leave this to your August 3rd meeting and hopefully we have something then.
Yeah, because it would be, I think we all decided, right? If we had 2 days with ministers, there'd be no sense going to AUMA.
If you wanted to table it to August 3rd.
Yeah, we might be late on hotel rooms, so we might want to book hotel rooms just in case we don't get meetings,
We can do that.
because we can cancel them. We can't cancel our registration.
Finally, when I might be able to go.
Well, you
Now-
go.
I'm interested, actually.
So that was gonna be my suggestion, that we at least get hotels booked. Because we don't know whether we're gonna get that sort of high level day with the ministers or 2 days. And even if we do get that, there may be some ministers at Alberta municipalities that we're not gonna meet in the 2 days, so it may still be worthwhile, but I think that we should at least get the rooms booked and we can make a decision on registration before the early bird deadline.
And on that point, I would rather go to AFPA than like Alberta Munis, so. I mean, there's ministers that we need to see there as well that don't go to AUMA, that go to APFA. So did we get a registration for that? I think we did, didn't we?
I haven't seen a PA, but we can
Sure we
check.
did.
Okay.
So I mean, if we don't, then some can go to AUMA. I'm sure we did maybe a couple times.
If you want, we could do this sooner. I'll see if I can find the AFPA or I'll contact them and see when their conference is, and we can just bring this back to the July 10th. That should still be lots of time for a hotel.
Yeah, and maybe book me a room or whoever else wants to go
Okay.
at AFPA, because that'll fill up really fast as well.
Okay, I'll check it out and I'll just email it to the council tomorrow.
Okay. Okay,
So I'll move that administration book sufficient hotels for Alberta municipalities and the Alberta Forest Producers Association meeting.
all in favor? Carried. On letter to congratulate provincial ministers, can someone? Oh, Jesus. Farmers Market. Is Jenna, oh, you just want,
Sorry, Mayor Director Clark will address that.
I have you all confused now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the Town High Level has been the sponsor for the farmers market since 2021. The market is held on the curling pad for the months of July to August. We are currently charging the farmers market $30 an hour to a max of 4 hours. Our last MOU expired October 2022, and we are proposing a 5-year MOU. Our recommendation is that Council approves the MOU as presented.
Do you have your mic on? Okay, no questions? He didn't have his mic on.
He didn't.
Okay,
I'll move for alternative 1.
all in favor? Carried. Okay, can I get to the letters to ministers now? Can someone move to send letters to the ministers congratulating them on their posts? Counselor Librion, all in favor? Carried. Sponsorship for the Denny's Meander River Assembly.
Madam Mayor, the council has $3,000 set aside for sponsorship. There is a policy that allows administration to proceed with 300 without a council motion, but we felt we'd bring this forward to see if council would like to give anything over and above.
So is that where we're taking that money from for that teepee raising?
No, I think that's coming out of council initiatives. You still have more money in there. Yeah. No, this is just a straight donation, your $3,000 donation account.
Okay.
Or budget line, sorry.
You weren't suggesting we donate $3,000.
I'm just asking that council give us a number if it's over above the 300.
Council? How about swim passes? How about swim passes?
This is in their community though.
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah.
mean like to give out,
To give
To
to
give
them
out.
to have swim passes here.
it's not a bad idea.
How much are the swim passes?
I don't know off the top of my head,
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Any of you swim? Josh? What's a family swim pass worth? No, not one swim a year. Membership. Pool pass. Or how about a child?
You talking like a seat, like the season pass? Or just a
A
day
pool
pass?
pass for the season.
Mm.
So a family pass for the year is $858. And that's for 5 members. A single pass for like a youth 8 to 17 is $325. For a child 3 to 7 is $175. And that's just a drop in. Or are you looking for the year? For a year for a child, it's $136.50, and then for the year for a youth, it's $253.50.
So why don't we do a child and a youth? I move that we donate a child and a youth pool pass for the year to the Denny though. That way they bring their parents and all in favor? Those opposed? Well, I need a motion. I have a motion on the
So-
table. No discussion. I have a motion.
So no discussion.
I called for those in favor. 1, 2, 3. That's it? Those opposed? What are you?
Well, I wanted to discuss it. I don't see the logistics of having, like, is there,
Okay,
are they, okay, so no discussion. Okay, so I oppose, I'd like to donate a different way. I'm not opposed to donating.
okay, we'll go opposed, then you can make a new motion. Josh, what are you, in or out?
I said yes.
Oh, I didn't see your hand, so that's 4. Carried. Okay, so correspondence for information, anybody want to move anything out of there? Could I have a motion to accept for information then, please?
I'll move to accept correspondence.
Counselor Anderson, all in favor? Carried. Question period. You have any questions? Okay. This ends our public portion. And can I have a motion to move in camera, please? Counselor LeBrion, all in favor? Carried.